Thank you, Lascion Corlett. Taoiseach, I want to just ask you a number of questions in relation to the appointment of Mr. John McNulty to the Board of the Irish Museum of Modern Art. And on Friday last, you issued an apology, and I'll quote, you said, "I wouldn't say it was my finest hour, and I take responsibility for this, having evolved to what people might imagine it is." Now, I think that apology, Taoiseach, calls for a far greater degree of clarification. People wondering what exactly you were apologising for, because you didn't say precisely what you were apologising for. And may I say, Taoiseach, that people didn't imagine this. It actually happened. Minister Heather Humphreys did actually appoint Mr. John McNulty to IMA, albeit for 2 weeks. In so doing, I think the Minister and the Government used the Irish Museum of Modern Art, an institution with considerable artistic status and achievement on behalf of the country, as a political tool. He was clearly appointed to qualify him to contest the Seanad by-election on the Cultural and Educational panel. And despite Minister Humphreys wishing him every success in his tenure only last week in the Seanad, he resigned last Friday, begging the question, how could he, in the Minister's words, bring his considerable talents and abilities to serve effectively a board that he could not serve on for longer than a couple of weeks? Taoiseach, could you clarify for me, when was it decided that Mr. McNulty would be the Seanad by-election candidate? And did you, Taoiseach, ask, direct or suggest, or did anybody on your behalf ask, direct or suggest to Minister Humphreys that Mr. McNulty be appointed to the board of IMA? And why, Taoiseach, was it decided to appoint someone to the board of a national institution when it was clear that that person could not serve longer than a few weeks? And why appoint someone who had not even applied for the position in question?
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Thank you, Deputy Martin. Obviously, my acceptance of responsibility on last Friday came in my capacity as the Uachtaráin of the party that I lead, and I did so for 2 reasons. The first was that it was a case of bad judgment and not having followed through on the process that was put in place for the validation of persons who were looking for nomination to the Seanad by-election. And secondly, for not having followed through more quickly on the internal structures that we agreed at our thinking down in Fota just a few weeks ago. It was for those reasons that I said I accepted responsibility for this. It happened on my watch, as it were. It was beneath the standards that we have always applied to consideration of names for nomination to Senate Seanad elections, and the situation was that as the president of the party, I let my own standards slip in that regard and wanted to accept responsibility for that on Friday, which I did. In respect of the actual appointment to the board of IMA, that was made by Minister Humphreys in her right as a Minister for Arts and Heritage, in respect of her examining the qualifications of Mr. McNulty, who is an innocent person in this regard completely. Mr. McNulty was nominated formally on the 17th of September.
Deputy Micheál Martin.
Taoiseach, I'm disturbed by your reply in one key matter. You've apologised, you said, in your capacity as Uachtaráin of Fine Gael. Do you not think it would be better and more appropriate to apologise in your role as on Taoiseach of the government? Because you undermined, in my view, a key cultural institution. You used it as a political tool and you insulted it. And I genuinely believe you owe that institution an apology. and so does the Minister. And likewise, you undermine the Seanad as well in the process, which is a key part of our parliamentary structure and institutions. You have your views in that institution, but it's a key part of our constitution, as you know. You should apologise more fundamentally on those two counts, Taoiseach, not, with the greatest of respect, in relation to your role as leader of the Fine Gael party. It suggests a self-absorption by yourself and the party that defies any either logic or credibility. And I find it incredible that that's the response we have received. Now, I understand that Mr McNulty, you might confirm, Taoiseach, has withdrawn his candidature from the Seanad by-election process. You might confirm that for us if that is indeed your understanding as well, which I think illustrates more than anything else the debacle that you and the Minister plunged him into and the entire process. It's always a worry, Taoiseach, when people can't answer straight questions in a simple way and have to avoid answering them for days and days. And that's what we saw last week. So would you accept, Taoiseach? And I asked you, why appoint someone who could only serve 2 weeks on the board, obviously in no position to serve the board in any meaningful way? Why did all that happen, Taoiseach? And I asked the question, did you ask the Minister to appoint Mr McNulty, or did you suggest to somebody else to suggest to the Minister to appoint Mr McNulty? Or did someone in Fine Gael ask the Minister to appoint Mr McNulty? Could I get an answer to that question?
You're over time, Deputy. No,
where was the catalyst in this? Who asked the Minister to appoint Mr McNulty? Because Mr McNulty himself didn't, and that's clear from the Minister's Seanad speech last week. He didn't apply for this job.
Thank you, Deputy. Sorry, Deputy Martin.
Suitable in terms of individual art, or contemporary modern art, or anything like that. So who actually picked up the phone and said, appoint him quickly, because we need to qualify him for the cultural education? That's something that most people like.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Ultimately, and finally, not.
Yeah, there were 44 names. There were 44 names received for this vacancy in the Seanad to Fine Gael. That was 29 persons. Some were nominated more than once. So there were 29 people actually looking for the opportunity. I looked at the names of the candidates myself and the qualifications, and I interviewed John McNulty. I felt he was an excellent candidate, an outstanding candidate who was well qualified. And during the course of the process of validation of his eligibility, he expressed himself a wish to serve on any cultural body, because he was intending to serve, if elected, to the Cultural and Education panel. And he wasn't nominated, as I say, until the 17th of September. Now, his CV was forwarded to him, to the Minister by Fine Gael officials, and she made 2 appointments to the board of Emma on the same day, and she has already made the point that these were made in her own right, on her own analysis of the qualifications and what they brought to it. I can confirm to you, Deputy Martin, that John McNulty has formally requested that Oireachtas members should not vote for him. And I do so because this Seanad seat in his name has become the source of great controversy because of all of these actions. I have accepted responsibility, and I do not want to see a situation where a decent man becomes the object of a barrage of criticism simply because he was qualified in his own right to be a member of the Cultural and Education panel for consideration by the Seanad, and because of all of this, that he has become the subject of great pressure, and from that point of view, he has requested formally that Oireachtas members would not vote for him. But I also do so, Deputy Martin, because, as I said, standing here as Taoiseach, who also happens to be the president of the Fine Gael party, this process was beneath our standard. It does not measure up to the integrity of the way that we have conducted ourselves at elections. It is not worthy of winning a seat in these circumstances. And John McNulty himself recognises that. Because of the trust given, because of the standards that are set, and I might add that standing here as Taoiseach, Deputy Martin, this morning, this morning, the government decided to put a name. The government decided to put a name to all of this, and Minister Howland has already published the framework by which all public appointments from here on will be publicly applied for, will be properly assessed and vetted before appointments by ministers, and in the case of commercial state bodies, there will be a specific requirement for the specific credentials of everybody who's to be appointed there, vetted externally from the political process. From an internal point of view, I've removed the authority from Fine Gael headquarters in respect of their validation, assessment and appointment of candidates, and will move to implement the structures that we adopted at Cork just a few weeks ago.